The sun hits the sand like fire. Heat waves blur the horizon. And then, out of the shimmer, steel moves. Not loud, just steady. A tank from another age, still on watch in Pakistan's desert. The T-80UD. To most people, it's just an old Soviet machine. But to those who know its story, it's a survivor of two worlds, born in the Cold War, still guarding a modern border. Before we see how this tank ended up here, we have to go back to when superpowers raced for the perfect war machine. A time when engineers didn't build for peace, they built for the end of the world. It's the 1970s. The Cold War is at its peak, and both sides are obsessed with speed, armor, and firepower. The Soviets already have the T-64 and the T-72, good tanks, reliable. But they want something faster, something that can cross Europe before NATO even knows what hit them. That's when the T-80 is born, the first Soviet tank to use a gas turbine engine, an 1,100 horsepower roar that could outrun almost anything on tracks. It drank fuel like a monster, but it was fast, dangerously fast. The crews loved the speed, hated the maintenance. In winter, it screamed to life. In summer, it burned itself out. So when the Soviet economy started to strain, engineers in Kharkiv, Ukraine, went back to the drawing board. They took that same design and gave it a new heart, a diesel engine. Less thirsty, easier to maintain, still deadly. The T-80UD was born, the U for upgraded, the D for diesel.
It didn't roar anymore, a Ukrainian mechanic once said. It growled, a sound we could trust.
The new version kept the smoothbore 125mm gun, advanced fire control, and reactive armor that could shred an incoming shell before it hit the steel. On paper, it was one of the best tanks on Earth, but history had other plans. By the late 80s, the Soviet Union was collapsing. Factories stood ready, tanks waited for orders, and then the empire they served simply vanished. Kharkiv found itself in a new country, independent Ukraine, with a world-class tank and no empire to fight for. The engineers needed buyers. The T-80UD needed a new home. Mid-1990s. Pakistan's Armoured Corps is facing a crisis. The U.S. has cut off military aid under the Pressler Amendment. The M60s and M48s are aging. The Indian Army is modernizing, and for the first time in decades, Pakistan stands alone. But then a quiet deal begins to form, half a world away. Ukraine, a newly independent nation, sits on warehouses full of Soviet-built T-80UDs. They need money, Pakistan needs tanks. Two needs meet across borders and politics. In 1996, the first shipment arrives. Dozens of tanks, still smelling of factory oil, rolling off rail wagons into the desert sun. The sight shocked many, even in Moscow. For the first time, a major piece of Soviet armor was serving under a different flag, Pakistan's. The tank quickly became a favorite in Pakistan's Armoured Corps. Its powerful 1,000 horsepower diesel engine handled the desert heat better than expected. The autoloader meant smaller crews could operate it efficiently. And its fire control system, once a Soviet secret, gave Pakistani gunners accuracy they hadn't seen before. But it wasn't just performance, it was symbolism. The T-80UD marked Pakistan's shift from Western dependency to self-reliance. It was proof that even with sanctions and pressure, the country could adapt and fight back its own way.
These tanks became part of the backbone of Pakistan's armored divisions, standing guard from the plains of Punjab to the deserts of Sindh. And over time, they gained a quiet reputation, reliable, fierce, respected.